Luka's weight has been a big topic of conversation over the past 3 to 4 years. However, that hasn't stopped him from making multiple deep playoff runs, while also being one of the best offensive engines in the NBA. But after being decisively beat in the first round by the Timberwolves, JJ Redick had this to say about his team.
I'll start with the offseason, the work that's required in an offseason to be in championship shape. You know, we have a ways to go as a roster, and certainly there are individuals we're in phenomenal shape. There's certainly other ones that could have been in better shape. That's where my mind goes immediately is you know, we have to get in championship shape.
Now, people can speculate all they want, but the reality is Luka was definitely a part of that quote about being in championship shape. And it appears the message for Luka was well received, where so far this offseason, we've gotten reports of him taking on a new diet and training program. But outside of all the speculation, how does this version of Luka actually look on the court? In this video, we're going to dive into his recent FIBA games to see if anything is actually different. Now, first off the dribble, there's no doubt that Luka looks much lighter and quicker with the ball. Regardless of his size, he's always had a really good first step, but now he has legit speed off the bounce. In pick and roll, if the big steps up to meet him at the level, he could put his foot on the gas and easily turn the corner. He's going to get the screen here from the logo, and from 40 feet out, all he has to do is get outside the defense's frame to then hit the turbo button and explode to the rim. And that improved speed along with Luka's already elite pace allows him to capitalize on the smallest breakdowns. Look how this big here prematurely rotates back to his man, giving Doncic another angle to the basket. And like you just saw, that improved speed with the ball allows him to punish defenders who extend out and pressure him from beyond the three. Last year, he simply wasn't making moves like this, where he's first going to relax and lift up his level as he brings the ball through. Then he's going to bring the ball back through and open up his stance. And from here, he has the drive in his legs to push all the way past this defender. And that new burst off the dribble also opens up another element to Luka's handle, where that ball control allows him to sharply change direction while attacking with a head of steam. Off the bounce, Luka's always had a sticky handle, but he primarily married that with his methodical pace and size. But Doncic being able to attack one way to then change direction without breaking stride is something we really haven't seen a lot of over the past couple of years. Now, one concern I had about Luka losing a bunch of weight is that the trade-off would be him losing that physicality and body control in the paint. And while he may have lost some of that lumbering strength, he can still use his body really well when coming downhill. If he gets the defense on his hip, he still has the ability to bump and chisel his way to scoring angles. We'll see him here first rip to his left, to then slam the brakes and transfer it back through. And as he's coming downhill, notice how he's going to gather and slam the brakes while stepping with his left, allowing him to decelerate this vertical finish. And that deceleration also carries over to Luka's mid-range scoring, where everything comes back to him pushing the defense back with the threat of that rim scoring to then stop and find these in-between looks. This move here is simple but very effective, where this defender gets caught on his hip trying to fight over the screen, and watch how smoothly Luka can go from attacking downhill to then stopping and elevating for a jumper. And while Luka has the defense on his hip, he's also great at luring them into fouls by either bringing the ball up and through contact or getting them out of position with the shot fakes. So while Luka did sacrifice some strength with his lighter frame, I still think the pros far outweigh the cons. He now has the speed to cook defenders who step out and pressure him. That quickness pairs really well with his already elite handle. Plus, he still has the strength to generate angles and fouls in the paint. And the other big positive to skinny Luka is that he now has the speed in the open court to be a legit threat out in transition, which has pretty much been non-existent for him over the past 3 years. And him being able to push the ball and weaponize the scoring and passing in early offense will open up a whole new element to the Lakers offense next year. And Luka's improved burst with the ball also opens up different elements to his playmaking, Last year in pick and roll, because Doncic had a hard time cleanly breaking down coverages off the dribble, this led to him being pushed out and primarily making his reads from the perimeter, which he for sure made work because of how well he can map the floor. But I think him using that speed to blow past the initial coverage will bend the defense more, leading to bigger breakdowns. And overall, I think the more Luka gets into the paint, the better. Now obviously when talking about Luka, we have to mention his 3-point shooting. So far throughout FIBA, he hasn't shot the ball that well from behind the line, and there have been times where he's settling a little bit too much for these contested step back threes, as opposed to being aggressive and putting pressure on the rim. But this could be him just trying to avoid injury and the extra wear and tear. But ideally, if Luka is lighter and quicker with the ball, this should upgrade his ability to create separation and rise up for on-bounce jumpers. And hopefully next year he can get back to shooting in the high 30s and low 40s from 3. Now one hope I had for Luka was that him being in better shape would also improve his activity off the ball. But from what I've seen so far this summer, Luka is still a corpse if the ball is in his hands. By either drifting up towards half court and providing no spacing, or sitting in the deep corner with his hands on his knees, pretty much being a zero threat. I think if Luka committed himself to screening, cutting, or at least being a spot-up threat, that could open up a whole new element to his game. And because the Lakers have other on-ball creators like LeBron and Austin Reeves, Luka's gonna spend plenty of possessions away from the primary action. And if he could commit himself to just a little bit of off-ball activity, that would be big for both him and the Lakers offense. Now the elephant in the room with Luka is obviously going to be his defense. And from the film I've watched, I've seen some legit improvements. First, off the ball, he's been a real play disruptor. He's always had a pretty good feel of putting himself in the right spot, but him stepping out and blowing up screening actions is definitely something new. Watch him here explode through this cross screen at the top of the key. And that quickness has also improved his ability to scramble and gap. This might be the best closeout I've ever seen him do, where he first slides down deep and help to close off his drive, then he rotates back out to the corner to then wall off this drive and force a turnover. And regardless of his specific weight, Luka's always been a bigger guy, and he's had no problem switching up against bigger frontcourt players, where he can hold his ground and not give up position, as well as hold his own pretty well when playing one-on-one on the block. So while Luka has taken some real steps forward defensively, I still think he has defensive holes in his game that Lakers fans should be concerned about. First, on the perimeter, Luka still doesn't have the foot speed to contain quicker guards off the dribble. It hasn't been a major problem throughout these games, but when he's guarding the ball, you can tell how easy it is to open up his frame and get him on your hip. And if you're dealing with any elite NBA scorer, you're pretty much dead if you give up angles this easily. This right here is just a simple pound dribble crossover, and just like that, the ball handler has a clear driving angle. And then I also think Luka's focus off the ball has been pretty inconsistent, where he's either inactive in help or just plays reckless and undisciplined, leading to all sorts of fouls on the ball. And some people may chalk this up to it just being FIBA ball, so there's no real reason for him to be totally locked in. But I couldn't disagree more. I think this is the perfect time for Luka to develop the right habits defensively, and him still not totally being committed to this side of the ball is for sure a problem. So while we have seen some physical improvements from Luka over the past few months, the mentality for me hasn't changed much. Luka is still an ultra talented on-ball creator, but I haven't seen much improvement in his activity off the ball. And while I think some elements of his defense have gotten better, I still see him being a liability this upcoming season. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments who the kids should break down next. The kids here.